Hello and welcome to the Literally Me podcast, the Ryan Gosling Rewatch podcast. I'm your host, Deans Beans, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Fluffy Duffy. Hello.
Well, thank you for inviting me back again.
Yep. I thought I'd invite you back for one more week, one more try, because you have been really annoying me recently. But just in case you're not up to scratch, I have brought someone in to try out for the new co-host spot.
All right, I won't take it too personally. I won't take it too personally.
So for our first guest on this podcast so far, well, it is our first guest. We have Liz, who you might know better as Newt's Films.
What? I didn't know I was the first guest.
Yeah, you're the first one.
Wow. I guess that means I'm the favorite so far, at least.
So if you are
without a shadow of a doubt, you are our favorite guest to have on the Literally Me podcast so far.
I'm going to try to get the podcast taken down immediately after my episode. So I have 100%.
Cease and desist.
You were easily in the top 20 guests on our previous podcast as well. Easily.
Stats don't lie, you know?
So we are going through every single Ryan Gosling film week by week. We are on our episode 7, so we're watching his 7th film, which was The Notebook.
Have you guys seen it before?
I
had seen it once before.
Okay.
How long ago had you seen it, Harlan?
Maybe like a year ago. So
okay.
Relatively recently.
Okay.
I had never seen it before, and this was and I still haven't. So I'm really good now.
Awkward. We're actually watching it right now. This is a 2-hour podcast.
Perfect.
Okay, so this film was directed by Nick Cassavetes. It made 117 million in the box office, which just to let you know, Liz, by current Ryan Gosling standards, that is just absolutely knocking it out the park.
Okay.
Last
this
week
is easily his breakout role, I would say.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I would say it is, because the only film that's come close to making as much money as this in the box office is Remember the Titans, and he is barely in that film.
Yeah, that was the next movie I thought of, but I was like, he's not even a main character. So
yeah, that did make more money than this film, but this is his second most profitable film. And it had the second biggest budget. Oh no, sorry. It had the third biggest budget with 29 million. So the second biggest is Murder by Numbers.
Oh.
And then the biggest was Remember the Titans. But sorry, the biggest was Murder by Numbers. Second biggest was Remember the Titans. That's what I meant to say.
Murder by Numbers, Liz, had Sandra Bullock as her protagonist.
Okay.
And this is after Miss Congeniality. So
okay, so she's okay.
Yeah. We did try to look in why the film cost as much as it did, but I can't remember what we said. It probably wasn't very interesting. But what I can tell you, which is incredibly interesting, is this film had a 54% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes.
The Notebook?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but then an 85 from audiences.
I feel like it'd be higher from critics.
Higher than 85.
60s, 70s.
Yeah. 54 is so low for the critics.
Yeah, I don't think it deserves a 54.
Yeah.
Is it perfect?
No, but it doesn't deserve 54.
But it is good.
This is actually, now I'm looking at it, this is the second highest audience score so far after the film that keeps coming up, Remember the Titans.
I mean, fair. Remember the Titans. If you don't love that movie, then I don't know.
That's another film I'd never seen before, but also that was the first American football film I've ever watched.
I was going to say, it's a very American movie.
Yeah. I think it's less American than the other American football film he did, which we've watched, which is called a film. I think if I was about to say I know Liz hasn't watched, but she's watched a lot of weird films.
She has watched a lot, but I would be surprised if you. What is the name of it again?
The Slaughter Rule. Had you forgotten?
No, I have not seen that movie.
There you go.
It's a stinker.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain why you watch?
You're selling it.
Yeah. Do you want to explain why you watch so many weird films, Liz? Because I feel, a bit like I just dropped you in that.
I don't even mean to. Yeah. It's fine. So sometimes I try to randomize my movie experience, and those I get some weird ones. And then lately, people have just been telling me to watch weird movies, and then I do. And I was actually just thinking about this.
The middleman.
Yeah. I spend so much time trying to learn about movies and have like formulated thoughts. The minute I post like the trashiest movie, boom, my views just skyrocket. So it's a lot of yin and yang.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So we already said this film. I don't know if we said actually. This film came out in 2004, and we as we go through. I think we go through almost every year of the 21st century, doing this. What is everyone's favorite film from 2004? I know what Harlan's is. So Harlan's going to say Spider-Man 2.
I will say Spider-Man 2. I'm taking that one from you guys. So sorry.
So I can't say Spider-Man 2.
You can say it if that's
if it's your favorite. So it's just you'll be copying me. So
you know what? I'll go Mean Girls then.
Mean Girls.
Excellent choice.
What I did want to say actually, what I wanted to bring up is that Liz is whenever Liz is our resident Rachel McAdams expert, because the first time she was ever on our previous podcast,
you're right,
we were talking about Spotlight, which Rachel McAdams is a lead in.
Wow.
You know what? Like, who am I? I don't know. True.
Are you a big Rachel McAdams fan?
I mean, I guess like not consciously. Like, I mean, yes, but it's not like I go to bed thinking of Rachel McAdams, you know. But I do like her movies.
Well, that's where you and I differ. No.
Okay.
All right. I think
Rachel McAdams is one of those actresses that really like go under the radar. That she's in a lot of stuff, but you never meet anyone that's like, man, I really love Rachel McAdams.
Like maybe in like 2008, that would have been like a hot topic. Currently, not as much.
Yeah, she was in Doctor Strange, and
it's true.
But
I really struggled with my favorite film from 2004. I was trying to choose between I was trying to choose between 5 films, and I'm going to tell you all 5 because all 5 of these films are some of my favorite films ever. So there's Shaun of the Dead, phenomenal.
Yeah, I could have guessed
British,
that one.
So
yeah, I was going to say the most British movie.
Yeah. Shrek 2, phenomenal film.
Ooh.
Phenomenal. Eternal Sunshine on the Spotless Mind.
That's what I was going to guess.
Spider-Man 2, definitely up there. But my personal favorite would have to be The Incredibles.
You are a big Incredibles guy.
Yeah. I thought you were about to call me incredible, Liz. I was really touched for a moment.
I mean, you are incredible.
No. Now it seems like I'm just fishing for it. I don't want it anymore.
Deserve it.
I don't want it. Harlan, tell us the plot of this film, please.
All right, the plot of this film I had up one moment ago. Okay, so here is the official plot synopsis via Wikipedia. In 1940, South Carolina, mill worker Noah. What's Noah's last name? Calhoun?
I've got no idea.
Anyways, and rich girl Allie are desperately in love, but her parents don't approve. When Noah goes off to serve in World War II, it seems to mark the end of their love affair. In the interim, Allie becomes involved with another man, played by James Marsden, but when Noah returns to the small town years later, on the cusp of Allie's marriage, it soon becomes clear that their romance is anything but over. And just like that, Dean has disappeared. Oh,
I had to do a victory lap for telling the best joke in the history of podcasting.
What joke? I didn't even hear it.
It was you said, "What's Noah's last name?" And I said, "I've got no idea." And I thought that your silence was just your dislike of the joke. It was just you showing me that you were like, Dean, that's a bad joke. But no, I was too subtle.
No, Dean. That was so good. I didn't even catch it. I'm so proud of you.
So proud of it. Thank you.
I thought you had to go to the bathroom or something. And I was like, oh, wow.
No, I stood up. I had to go do a victory lap because I was so happy.
I love how it was a silent victory lap. Like you didn't make any noise.
It's also the people listening to this have no idea what has to happen. I just stood up and stood in the corner of this room for a little bit. But I was standing there.
That's not even a lap.
I didn't lap anything. You're right.
You're like the girl from the not The Shining, The Ring. You just go in the corner and just stand there.
I'm about to climb out of your computer screen. Anyway, that is the plot summary of this film. How do we usually do this? General thoughts.
General thoughts.
Liz, what are your general thoughts on this film? Why is it one of the films you asked to speak about with us?
So it's just, if you're a girl's girl, you get it. This was a movie that was on every sleepover. Like this
Yeah.
movie, Mean Girls 2, like I don't know, it was the movie. And it was like a pop culture thing. And I rewatch it every couple of years or so. And I cry for totally different reasons. Like I remember when I was younger, I was like, oh, they're love when they're teenagers. It's so cute. And then I'm older now and I'm like, ugh, okay, I'm glad they took some time off. But then they're older and I'm like, oh, I can relate to this now. And it just feels like a movie I never get tired of, even though I know exactly what happens.
Yeah, I can see that. I do think it's funny that it does seem like Harlan and I were like, oh, next week we're talking about our first girls movie.
Yeah.
Kind of go.
Okay, hold up. No. I like The Notebook. That was never.
I mean, it was because Liz did ask for this to be on one of the episodes she was on.
Well,
that's what happened.
What? I'm lost.
It doesn't take a lot.
And
what are your thoughts on this film, Harlan?
I love this movie. I don't like the last 20 minutes of this movie. The last 20 minutes are really hard for me to get through because they're really sad and I can't handle it.
That's fair.
When I think the part that gets me the most, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this movie, when Allie forgets Noah again, and then Noah starts crying because Allie's having like a meltdown.
That's the bit that got me the most. And I was gonna say,
I can't do it.
I did want to bring this up that so a couple months ago when this podcast was starting, Liz and I did have a very small conversation about this film, and then she was like, oh, it's gonna make you cry, and then she was like, oh no, but you don't really cry at films. Because back when we recorded our episode on Spotlight, which I don't even want to think about how long ago that was, that
years
ago, I would have said, I don't really cry at films. I've changed since then. I've matured.
Congratulations.
Now, like, just the right adverts will make me cry nowadays. I'm just, I'm on the edge. Anything can push me over the edge. And this film, I went into it thinking like, oh, this is gonna make me cry. I had no idea it was like about dementia, and that is something that has affected my life in multiple ways. So when that bit started, I just lost it. I was crying. Yeah. But we are jumping to the end. Overall, I think this was just a fun, solid rom-com. I just love a good rom-com. This is just a good one. This is my second favorite Rachel McAdams rom-com. It's my second favorite Ryan Gosling rom-com. It's probably my favorite James Marsden rom-com.
One thing that kind of gets me giggling about this movie is if you take away the romantic soundtrack, especially when Rachel McAdams' character first meets Ryan Gosling's character, and if you put in like a horror movie soundtrack, it'll work.
The start of this film,
it would work. He like is a little creepy, and if Rachel McAdams' character really wasn't into it, it'd be a different story. So that got me giggling, but it isn't. It's a very sweet story.
Have you guys seen that stuff where it's like, your grandparents will tell you a story that they think is really romantic, but it's actually just the granddad just stalked her for
yeah. That's
what
kind of this movie.
It's like, girl, you're a victim. Yeah. I mean, it kind of tracks. Like, this was supposed to be in the 1940s. Like, the way they talk to each other, the way they argue, I'm like, ooh.
But...
Yeah. I think a part of that, it's bits of it. I'm like, ooh, but it's nothing in this film is that bad. Where I'm like, throw the whole thing in the bin. This whole relationship.
No, but like also like if this relationship was to happen in modern day and Rachel McAdams' character hit Ryan Gosling as much as she hit him in this movie, it would be frowned upon. But also, it's the 40s, and so you can hang off Ferris wheels. It's fine.
And also, I've said this in most of our episodes. This film came out in 2004, and I think a lot has changed in 20 years.
Yes.
In a good way,
But also, like this, like you addressed, nothing's like absurdly offensive in this movie.
No.
It's just like,
Yeah.
all right.
Kevin Spacey doesn't say anything problematic, which happened last week.
Yes, or he doesn't even produce this one.
Wow.
So that's a
step up.
win.
Yep.
Wait, let's check he didn't produce this one now. So I know Harlan kind of has a love-hate thing with rom-coms. You a big rom-com person, Liz?
I am definitely. It's hard. It's like I have to be in the right mood for it though.
Yeah. Do you have a
So,
favorite?
oh gosh. Oh, my favorite rom-com.
I think mine. I'll give mine just because I think it is a film you're a fan of as well. I think that's something I've seen on TikTok or Letterboxd. My favorite novel, Rachel McAdams, is About Time.
That is a good one.
That is an excellent one.
I like it's a newer one. I really like Set It Up with Glenn Powell since he's the new white boy of the summer right now.
Yeah.
Set It Up. Is that the one where like is Pete Davidson in that one?
Yeah, he is briefly in that.
I just know that because like Netflix knows I would watch Pete Davidson
they'll
things, so
put
it
him on the
shows me
cover.
the poster with Pete Davidson. But I haven't seen that. My favorite one is Crazy Stupid Love.
Great rom-com. That's in my top 3.
Oh, well, maybe okay. If I had to pick 13 going on 30,
Okay.
pretty classic.
That is also a really good one. I feel like saying I do have a love-hate relationship with rom-coms, and what that is I love me a good rom-com, but I really don't like me a bad one.
I think
So that's the love-hate,
That's
and
good.
it's tricky because there's a fine line.
if I can put words in Harlan's mouth, which is something I do a lot of, I think what Harlan's trying to say is that he loves a good rom-com, but if a rom-com is like lukewarm to bad, he hates it.
Hate is a strong word. Dislike.
Yeah.
That's
Dislike.
because you have to buy in, and the moment it's just like a little cringy or the joke doesn't land, like you're not in.
And when this film started with the whole like him trying to force her to go on a date with him, I was already going to be like, I don't think I'm going to like this. But the film won me back because I just love, you know.
Yeah.
Wow. And Ryan Gosling.
And Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, what possessed you guys to even make this podcast?
Oh, good
Ryan
question.
Gosling, actually.
Okay.
You mentioned
Well,
that.
both of us have always said we've always had the same 2 favorite actors,
Mhm.
and that's Ryan Gosling and Jim Carrey.
Oh, I'll agree with you on that one. I was really interested as to who that second one was going to
Really?
be.
Because that's I remember having that conversation a very long time ago, and we were like, we want to do a podcast where we watch through someone's entire filmography, and we had quite a few options, and we settled on Ryan Gosling because we thought it'd be
Good
fun.
choice.
Yeah,
And he doesn't have like an absurdly large filmography.
there were
it's
people
Fair.
I would like
You
to
wouldn't
see
spend your
that.
whole life doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
He's got like 30 films, which is fine. There was a bit. One of my pitches was we would do Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland all at the same time.
That would be a lot to juggle.
Yes, it would.
Very different movies
Well,
too.
because all at the same time, would that be like we have like every episode would be 3 movies?
No, I mean I meant just you go through them in order. So you don't do all of Toby and then all of Andrew. You go chronological. There wasn't that many, but anyway, we settled on Gosling, and now we're here. We're still here talking about his films.
And speaking of Gosling,
Good segue. Go on.
we should move to our thoughts on specifically Ryan Gosling and his performance in this movie. I think when I notice this in movies, I struggle not thinking about it just because I'm thinking about the actor and their experience making the movie. Ryan Gosling, iconically, has blue eyes. And he has brown eyes this entire movie. That's all.
The way I've never even noticed that.
That has to be annoying. Liz, have you seen The Atom Project?
Yes.
Yes.
Walker Scobell?
Mhm.
He wears brown contacts for that entire film because Ryan Reynolds
has
brown eyes. And that kid has big blue eyes.
So what's the point of the brown eyes in this movie?
I just googled it. It's because his older actor has brown eyes.
So
And
what,
you
they
know,
cast it around this like one specific guy who doesn't have that many scenes? Like they were really into the older version?
I don't know.
Okay.
But
I mean, commitment.
to be fair, if I had two actors, one of which is like an 80-year-old man and one of which is like 22, I'm gonna be
23.
like, sorry, buddy, you're young, dumb, and you're wearing these eye things for
Yeah.
2 months.
Okay.
I
But he
think
was great in this,
I think it's his most charming film yet.
definitely.
Yes. Especially because like you said, the things he says and does, like, hanging off the Ferris wheel, like again, if you put horror music to it, that'd be creepy. But
Yep,
also he's just so charming that I'm like, I'm ignoring all your red flags. I
yep.
love
He's making some strong points.
Yes.
1 and 2. Um,
We spent a while talking about this last week as well, but I do want I don't know what it was why I was so fixated on this, but I just could not stop thinking about the hair he has in this film. And I can't
explain.
I don't know, it's just a different haircut to what we're used to because it's just a lot longer and it's a lot
Hmm.
more the word I would use is like foppish, you know? Like there's a
One
lot more
thing
Popish,
going on here.
that's out of my
it flops around. It certainly
Okay.
flops around.
Yeah.
It's one of my biggest gripes with movies in general is when a character says to another one, "Oh, you look awful." Like after they were on like a huge action set piece, then they're like, "Yeah, I know, blah blah blah." When Ryan Gosling's character kind of goes off the deep end, I know really all that he has added to him is a beard.
He just looks better.
You think he looks? I think when people say he looks like he's been through hell, he looks like he's gone through the ringer.
He's just greasy at that point.
Yeah.
He did. I think they did just make him a lot more greasy, but I just didn't like the hat he was wearing for the first bit of this film, you know?
You think Ryan Gosling looked better with the beard than without?
Kind of. Kind of.
Wow.
I
Maybe
I
he
didn't
should grow a
hate the
beard.
No.
like I'm not going for it, but I don't hate it either. Like I kind of see it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I understand why you're like, oh, he looks worse. Because in a way he does, but also, he just looks a bit rough around the edges. I, I know you're into that sophisticated Ryan Gosling look, Harlan.
Oh yeah, you know me.
What we meant to say earlier on, Liz, is we just made this podcast because we're both incredibly horny about Ryan Gosling.
I mean, whatever you got to do, it's probably better than like writing him letters, or following him around.
Yeah, because we don't do that. We barely talked about his performance. What happened is we were like, let's talk about his performance. You talked about his beautiful blue eyes. And then I talked about his hair, and now we're like, yep, okay, that's Ryan Gosling's performance in this film.
I think when what we have seen through going through Ryan Gosling, because I think after this movie, his career kind of takes a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Because
This was
honestly,
definitely
what it feels like for me at least is his movies up to this point was he had an agent that was just getting him whatever role he could get. And so it was just kind of throwing stuff at the wall. And for this movie, like in all of his past movies, you have seen his iconic Ryan Gosling charm, but in this one, it is like put on full blast, and it works. And he's able to upgrade from a stalker to a love interest.
Mhm.
Isn't that just what we all aspired to?
Got some things to learn from this movie.
I think he's charming. I don't know. I think I've got less to say this time than I do a lot of the other times because this just felt a lot more like the Ryan Gosling I know.
And also to be fair, like I think it's weird because although Ryan Gosling is technically the protagonist of this story, he isn't technically the old man version of him is.
I would
You know what I mean?
say old man Ryan Gosling and young Rachel McAdams, the protagonists here,
Yes.
because
Okay.
Rachel,
Yeah, I get what you're. That's tricky to think about, but I think you're right.
yeah,
Well, technically, yeah.
yeah, because Rachel McAdams is the one that actually, is the one that has to make decisions and sort
Mhm.
stuff out. Where Ryan Gosling kind of just sits there and waits for Rachel McAdams to come back.
Speaking
Hmm.
of Rachel McAdams,
Yeah, you're really on fire with these segues
look
today.
at me go. Transitions. The co-stars, the other people in this movie. I personally think the two elderly actors were fantastic in this movie. Um, it's easily the most heartbreaking part of the movie, and I don't think I can watch this movie that many times. I don't think I can take it because such a sweet, fun story when Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams are on screen, but
Mm.
when they're off screen and it's the elderly versions of the characters, it is super sweet, but it's also it's tough to watch.
Yeah. I mean, you're not gonna cry without those performances.
It's weird because like it
That's
took
true.
me a little bit to get onto that twist, and I think I figured out earlier than like pretty early, but
When do you think you figured
before,
it out?
pardon,
Do you remember when you figured it out?
it was before like he met his kids.
Mm.
It was before that. I think it was maybe like just before that. I think I'd figured out like in my brain, I figured out the story was about one of them, and then I was like, oh, the story's about both of them at that point. Um,
Mm.
and I think before that twist happened, if you call it a twist, I was sitting there and I'm like, what is like the point of this film? You know, I'm like, what is the crux here? Is it just that they fall in love and then she leaves? And then I was like, I don't know what like the point is here. And like, I don't think that's a complaint. It's just an
I
observation.
got about the story that it's revealed that the story he reads to her was written by her. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like I saw the film at such a young age that I can't even remember what I thought about all of it the first time. Like,
Yeah.
because my memory of it is already knowing what happens the entire movie and still, of course,
Mm.
feeling so emotional. But like the realization of the twist, I was like, no, like it's like I already knew it because I've seen it half a dozen
Yeah.
times.
So it's
I'm kind
answered
of
one of those classic questions of if you could like watch one of those a film for the first time again.
Oh, I
I'm
would love
thankful
to.
I
It would
never watched this movie when I was a kid because little Harlan would be like, "Where's Spider-Man?" I wouldn't. I like. It, I couldn't have understood this movie by any means. The only thing I knew about The Notebook was that Conan did a spin-off of it and he was in the rain crying and he kissed Ryan Gosling, I think. Let me see.
love that.
Who did Conan kiss in The
Yeah.
Notebook?
I think I would have enjoyed this film as a kid, but I grew up with two older sisters, so I was about to say
Mm.
forced to watch a lot of rom-coms. If you'd asked me at the time, I'd have said I was forced, but I secretly loved it.
What was your favorite rom-com growing up, Dean? And how did they not force you to watch this one? This is like the
I
most
don't even know if
iconic
my sisters are
2000s
like a
romance
fan of
movie.
this film. I don't know if either of them would have watched it. I
Mm.
feel like they would have. They like the stuff they kind of would make me watch. Like I think my favorite would be like 10 Things I Hate About You. Because
That
that was
is
a
a good
film they
one.
both really liked, and I
Very
really liked that
good.
film. They were both like stuff like High School Musical. They were big into. I remember watching High School Musical 3 in the cinemas with them.
Oh, High School Musical 3 is the best High School Musical.
You are so wrong.
Mm-mm. I think I'm right. When's the last time you watched that movie, Dean?
It was 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. You were ready for that.
I had to think about it, but yeah, I remember where I was. Are you a High School Musical fan, Liz?
Yeah, I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I ever saw the third one. I saw the first and second, but
Yeah, I think that's
I
what
know
you.
the production value went up a lot for the third one.
Hmm.
And it's not that's not why it's the best one, but it certainly helps it become the best one, which it is.
I couldn't
Not
name
by
you.
a mile, but like a good
Yeah.
100 feet.
I couldn't name you a song.
Scream, The Boys Are Back.
Yeah, Scream's pretty good. Anyway, this isn't Zac Efron rewatch podcast. Although I would really
Yeah,
like to do that because I think he's done some really interesting films. But
yeah, he has a weird collection.
he's taken a weird turn recently. Like
Yeah.
he's 100% just upgraded to dad in films.
Yeah, ish. I never saw Firestarter. Did you guys see
I did watch
Firestarter?
No.
Firestarter, and I did not like it.
Um,
Yeah.
before we get into talking a little bit more about the plot of this film,
I think there are more actors to discuss.
yeah, as I was gonna say, what other actors stood out to you guys the most, aside from Ryan Gosling in this film?
I mean, definitely Rachel McAdams. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I know we're gonna kind of talk about chemistry later, but like it's chemistry is you have it or you don't have it. And like their banter, just kind of going back and forth between each other just makes this movie.
I would agree. Yeah. I like James Marsden in it. I just think he's really in, especially in like this era, he was just put in every love triangle imaginable.
Yeah, but he's always the one like nobody wants to win.
He's always, and I found a letterbox list for this. I'm going to see if I can find it now, actually, of James Marsden love triangles, and there was like 12 films.
That's kind of awesome.
I watched one recently.
Oh, really?
Bad. It's called
Oh.
Accidental Love.
Yeah. Okay,
Or-
I found the list here.
Yeah, and I think it's a David O. Russell film, so it's trash.
Was that a randomized movie experience?
It sure was. It sure
All
was.
right.
I hated every second of it. It was him and Jake Gyllenhaal.
We do have
Oh.
accidental love here. So the ones I already knew of were the three X-Men films, so X-Men X2 and X-Men The Last Stand. He's being love triangled in all of them, and he's always the guy you root against, except from I don't in the X-Men films. In the X-Men
Like I
films,
say, I love Cyclops.
in the
I love
X-Men,
Cyclops, but in the X-Men films,
But he's kind of just boring.
but also in those films I do root for him and Jean, because in those films, Wolverine is just such a arsehole.
I would pretty confidently say that the Wolverine Jean Grey Cyclops love triangle is still the worst love triangle in superhero movie.
What about Spider-Man 3?
I think it's worse.
No
than
way.
that.
I just hate what they did with it. One of the reasons why I cannot stand The Last Stand is because they just destroyed me when they destroyed Cyclops.
Yeah, that was stupid. They
It
were
just
like,
felt so forced. Like I get you're trying to do the Phoenix, whatever, but like,
no, I think the issue with those films is the issue with this love triangle is they never gave you a reason to root against James Marsden, because in like this film, in it's either like she was in love with someone before James Marsden, or she meets someone better than James Marsden. And I don't think the X-Men films do either of that. But anyway, the full love triangle list. You have X-Men, X2, X-Men The Last Stand, Superman Returns.
Oh.
Enchanted, classic one.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a film called 24 Day, The 24th Day, The Best of Me, Accidental Love, Heights, Straw Dogs, The D Train, and 27 Dresses. And that's an impressive list.
Yeah.
He was working, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, the thing about this movie and him being the love interest is like you were saying, she met Ryan Gosling before, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He is great.
No.
He's going to take care of her. And like, that's kind of the sad part. And definitely, as an older person with more experience, I'm like, wow, that's a tough decision because I know you do love him,
Yeah.
And for having to make that decision is brutal.
And what I do like about it is how nice he is about the whole thing, that he doesn't get upset with Rachel McAdams. Like he doesn't turn on her. And I think it would have been a very easy thing to do for him to go and try and beat up Ryan Gosling or start being an arsehole to Rachel McAdams. And maybe that would have even like, you know, made their love better, because then in the love triangle you definitely see James Marsden as, oh yeah, she needs to leave him because he's an idiot. But in this film, he's kind of just like, no, I really want to be with you, but I know like I'm forcing you to be. So I'm gonna,
and that makes it
it's
more
like,
sad. It makes it more real.
exactly. And
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams kind of only ends up with Ryan Gosling because he steps to the side, because he's kind of like, you know, go and talk to her, go to him. So I think it's a good way of doing it.
You know, I hope he ended up happy. You know, we need a spinoff.
It's just gonna be a hunch, but I think he'll be okay.
Yeah,
I think that character will make it.
That's true. I think a big reason why you do root against him in this is because he's rich.
Yep.
That's all it takes for me, you know.
And also he doesn't care about her painting as much.
Yeah.
He didn't know that she paints.
True.
Yeah. These are good points, but I like how it's balanced, and like you're never like, this guy's an arsehole.
Yeah.
If anything,
because Ryan Gosling, like, he's not a perfect boyfriend either.
No, he kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. This whole thing about like in the narration when they're like, oh, they fight all the time and blah blah blah. When they go into that, I'm always like, it always felt a little bit of out of left field, because they never really did in the film.
I would argue that considering what the film is a story that the older character is reading out, that the older Allie wrote. It wouldn't make sense for her to write all the fights they had.
Yeah, it's true.
But then just mention, we fought, but we still loved each other. For her to remember.
Sounds like an unreliable narrator. Would you consider this one of them movies?
How about them apples, Dean?
Yeah, what if like he gets this book from his wife and he's like, yeah, I want her to remember, but also I'm just going to skip over all the pages when she goes into like all the bad things I did. And he's like, oh, sorry, this whole chapter is about...
He's playing mind games.
Yeah, this whole chapter is about that time I cheated on you. I'm just going to skip over that.
Yeah.
Yikes. All right, going to keep on moving.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
But I think with the fighting, definitely like the one prominent scene in my mind is like right after she sees him again when they're older, and she's trying to leave to go back to her husband because they're fighting, and you know he's like, I'm an asshole, you know, like, you know, and we yell at each other, but that's what we do, you know, like telling her, you know, like, you are pretty chill with this guy, and like here it is pretty heated, but that's how we are.
Yeah.
Girls,
like, oh, I love you, whatever, you know,
yeah.
kiss.
Girls, if you're guys, if your man is saying that to you, leave him. Okay.
Yeah. It's a different era.
We should start a dating advice podcast. The three of us will do like a panel
Based on movies specifically.
Yes. Yeah. And our advice is only like every episode, our advice is purely based off of one specific film.
Oh, I have the perfect one. Okay.
Go on.
The Lizzie McGuire movie. Do not go with a strange man in another country.
There are so many films where
I went
like,
to a strange man.
Like,
I went with a strange man
like
to another
a friend
country.
of mine, I would tell them to be like, have a look at yourself, you know.
That's pretty much every, yeah.
That's
like
just
Lizzie McGuire could turn into Taken so quickly. The pipeline is there.
I'm trying to think of other examples now of rom-coms. I'm like, what are you doing? Because I think there are a lot.
I think if we take Mary Jane's arc from the Spider-Man movies, that could be a whole thing.
But she's like a famous actress. She can do so much better than just awful Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Who's, you know, I mean, but there I think we'd have this whole debate about whether you can forgive your boyfriend for slapping you if he was under the control of an evil alien parasite at the time, you know. I think that's some muddy water there.
Yeah.
It is a little muddy. Like, not just like a parasite, like a overtly villainous wants to take over the world parasite.
Yeah. Like a conscious parasite. Like a sentient, that's the word I was looking for.
Anyway, I think I believe we are getting a little bit off topic.
Because I was looking, Liz was really trying to figure that one out as well. She was like, oh.
I was like, you do need to make a whole nother podcast about this, like, you know, make it like a therapy session.
Yeah.
Hey girl, what are you doing?
I like the idea that all our advice is directed towards women as well. And I'm like,
Yeah,
women,
me and
your
D,
guy does
that's
this.
our area of expertise. All right.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna transition into the plot now. That one wasn't as
Yeah.
smooth, but
Yeah.
that's where I'm going now. Um, I really like the way that this movie is told. The
Sorry,
way that
just to rate
it
your transition, you would have got away with it if you didn't go. That's my transition this time.
rats. I won't do it next time. Or maybe I will. You won't even see it coming. Um, because the opening of the film technically is in the past. Because it's Ryan Gosling's. Wait, no, it's not. It's not Ryan Gosling's character rowing. It's just a random dude rowing.
Yeah.
And then does it open on Annie or
It opens on her.
Allie?
It opens in her room in the thing, and then the nurse is like, "Hey, do you want to go outside?" And she's like, "No." And then she's like, "Oh, this random guy is here to read to you." And
I
she's like,
think
"Oh,
it
great."
it does a really good job getting you attached to these two separate set of characters, even though you believe them to be two separate characters, so you get attached to them in different ways, them being the future and past versions of themselves, or the present and past.
Yeah, and as the person here who we have figured out can speak on this subject, is I think they handle the quote unquote twist well as well, because it's not like there's a big reveal. It's not like The Sixth Sense. And they're like, and also I think they do it at the right time, because if they had just left it until the end, I think everyone would have figured it out.
Yeah.
But then they kind of reveal it bit by bit as it goes along, and like the big twist at the end, I guess, is the fact that she wrote the book. And I think that's real nice.
That was a good twist.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely didn't see that part coming, because I was like, oh, I already figured it out, like I wasn't expecting another layer.
Yeah, and that's why they add good layers onto it.
And I think a part of that goes towards the direction of the film as well.
Yeah.
Is I think it's handled really well by how it separate the two plots. It considered that similar, but they're treated differently, the two plots, and it's like I was able to figure it out, I believe, relatively quickly the first time I had seen it. But
it doesn't make the older plot boring once you figured out the
not at all, because
there's so much more
like,
to unravel.
Yeah, that's true, because there's still, but even when you figure out bits of it, it's
like, what's the dynamic here? You still don't know if they've really ended up together.
That's true, because also there was a point where I was like, there's like a 10% chance that this guy could be James Marsden.
Yes.
Or sorry, the thought I had was that she married James Marsden and then they got together when they were widows.
Mm-hmm.
It does, especially at the end, because how it happens is James Marsden and Rachel McAdams, they say I love you, and then it goes back to the elderly couple, and then she's older. Allie's like, it's you, and then it goes back to the past, and then it's Allie running up to Noah. But for a split moment there, when I was rewatching it today, I was like, did I just remember half this plot incorrectly? But I didn't. But that's because the movie's constructed so well.
Mm-hmm. And I think picking one of those book reading movies, I don't know how else to say it, like the only other movie I could really think of in that trend is like Princess Bride, which is like very different because it's more whimsical type story. But like, can you guys think of any other movies that have that same sort of framework?
My first thought was Shrek, but I don't think that counts.
I guess
because at the start they literally open the book and they're like, and then it's Shrek. It's is it Shrek that narrates it? I don't think that counts though, because they never refer back to that book.
maybe bedtime stories. The
Yeah.
the
There's
Adam Sandler
definitely
movie.
films that are structured like this, and
Mhm.
you just cannot remember they're structured like this because you remember the actual film and not the whole,
Mhm.
book element.
Right.
But this is one where you definitely do remember
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
book element. Because it does take time to cut to the, oh, we're closing the book, we're taking a break. The same way
Right.
says Brad did, where the kid's like, please read me more,
I think the difference is a lot of the time it's kind of just used as a narrative device to
Mhm.
have like narration and everything, but here it's actually like an integral part of the plot. Like
Yeah.
if the film was completely without the old person thing, I think it would be like a complete film. I think you would have, your first act, your second act, your third act, beginning, middle, end. It would work as a film, but it would be nowhere near as good.
Mhm.
Right. No. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what makes this movie. I mean, it's kind of an obvious thing, but I think that's what makes this movie stand out so much. Is because if you take away all of the retirement home bits, it's still a pretty good rom com.
Mm-hmm.
But without that extra layer, it would just like I would argue it could fall into like a direct to home video sort of rom com because it's almost nothing we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
But with that extra element, it takes it to a whole new level that makes it not only more interesting, but just significantly more compelling.
Compared to a different Ryan Gosling movie, you could think about it like with La La Land. Like if you take out that whole bit where they don't end up together in the end, not to like spoil a
Mm.
future episode, but I mean, you take that out,
What?
it's not, I mean, that's like the most heartbreaking part of the movie,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of weird for rom-coms to kind of end on that sad note. So similar thing here where having that extra bit kind of makes or breaks it.
Yeah. And it's weird because this one kind of ends on like I don't want to say bittersweet because it's a happy note, but still a sad note. Like it's happy in the sense that they're together and they always were together. And the bit of this film that in like hindsight breaks my heart is when they like his family sit down and they're like, Dad, can you come home? We want to see you. Like your grandkids want to see you and everything. He's like, no, I live here now because this is where she is. That
Mhm.
is so heartbreaking and just so
Yeah.
sweet. Damn it. I just love old people.
It's kind of what
Um,
you want, like especially like going back to the sleepover thing. It was always about like what, like this is what I want, like
mhm.
I can see myself being 80. I need to find somebody like this. Like, it was what you wanted in life.
Oh, and then when she's looking at the sunset and she's like, "I've never seen something as beautiful as this," and then like he's looking at her. Oh
Yeah.
man! All right, now it is now officially time for the wild card segment,
Okay.
where
That
if you
was a
don't
bad
know,
segue, Harlan.
no, it wasn't because the wild card is we need like a we need a title card for the wild card.
We need like a jingle.
Yeah. But so if you don't know what the wild card is, every time we bring on a new Ryan Gosling movie, after we see it, we discuss and we decide on a wild card that the movie kind of specializes in or tries to specialize in. We've
Yeah.
had wild cards where the wild card wasn't good and we kind of dogged on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But for this one, for the notebook, for our wild card is thoughts on the chemistry between the characters in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one of the ones where we'll be dogging on it. Just putting that out there.
This makes or breaks every single. I was about to say rom com, but now I think about it, this makes and breaks just movies in general.
For
It doesn't
sure.
even have to be romantic. If your leads don't have chemistry, like the first.
I know what you're gonna say, but
Oh
go ahead.
god, who do you
You're
think
gonna
I'm going?
say The Rock and Emily Blunt.
No, I was going to say a
Oh,
good example because The Rock and Emily Blunt, Liz looks confused, in Jungle Cruise have the worst chemistry of all time. Seen Jungle
I've not
Cruise?
seen the movie. I didn't even know they were supposed to be together.
Oh, they have in that film, they have one of just the worst on-screen kisses in the world. It's just like the least like there's this whole thing. I think about this every now and then, how films kind of lean into romance and like lean into like this sort of chemistry less and less nowadays. And you saw it in like The Fall Guy, but like I don't think it's in as many films as it used to be. And just that kiss in the Jungle Cruise, I wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat thinking about it sometimes. I'm like, because it's
Aren't
just
they
not...
starring in another movie opposite each other?
I think they are, and it was just. But also, this is off topic. I've never watched a film and I've gone, wow, Dwayne Johnson has really good romantic chemistry with that person. That's never happened.
This new one he has coming out, his new A24 movie, I'm interested in.
The film, I was thinking of another film. It's a film that I would guess that I know Harlan hasn't watched it. I'd be surprised if Liz has. Rebel Moon 2. Okay. Yeah. I watched Rebel Moon 2 because I felt like I owed it to Zack Snyder, my good friend.
Your buddy.
My buddy. I shook his hand, that was it. What was I saying? But that film starts. I'm going to tell Harlan this because I know he watched Rebel Moon 1. Mm-hmm. The farmer and Sophia Butell's character in the first like 30 seconds of Rebel Moon kiss. And number one, it's a real weird place to put like your two protagonists' first kiss. And secondly, it was up there with the least passionate kisses anyway, ever. But we've talked about bad chemistry. Let's get back to The Notebook.
Well, okay, so that's a perfect segue because worst kiss, right? Well, you know, was it MTV Teen Choice Awards or something like that has the best kiss every year, and this won that year. I remember, and it's like a thing. Like you know, back when we had TVs, and I guess we still have TVs. Back when we watched things that were happening. It was such a big pop culture moment because I remember they won, and like the trend is when you win, you go up and you kiss again. And like I remember they were on opposite sides of the stage. She runs, he picks her up. So passionate, like all the teenage girls in it. Highly recommend watching a YouTube video on it if you haven't.
I will do that immediately after
we just like superimpose the clip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dean. Future Dean, you better be doing that right now.
Oh, trust me, I've been doing it ever since we stopped filming.
It's just making sure it's a kiss in the rain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what wins it. I'm just looking at all the things that have won it recently, and most of these,
like I think Twilight won it.
Like I'll go through I'll go through it now. I've said it. Outer Banks, I haven't seen.
Okay.
Jackass Forever, that's pretty funny.
That is awesome.
Outer Banks again. To All the Boys I've Loved Before, did watch it.
These are not good ones.
Love Simon. I understand why that won, and I'm not saying it shouldn't have, but also it's not like a phenomenal kiss in that film. It's a good film. I really like Love Simon. Moonlight, Pitch Perfect 2, The Fault in Our Stars, We're the Millers, Silver Linings Playbook, Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1, Twilight Eclipse, Twilight New Moon, Twilight, Step Up 2, The Streets. Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights won Best Kiss.
Yeah, Will Ferrell and Sacha Baron Cohen.
That's insane.
Brokeback Mountain. Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger.
Okay, fair.
The Notebook. Believe it or not. Starsky and Hutch. Spider-Man. I've never, like, I know they dated, but they're two people I've never, like, watched them in the film, and I'm like, yeah, I believe that chemistry. And, like, it's weird because they dated.
Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't think that's
the Spider-Man kiss, like, the Spider-Man kiss, like, with the rain upside down, that and The Notebook are, like, two of the most iconic kisses.
But also, if we're doing our dating podcast, I think that Spider-Man kiss always makes me feel uncomfortable, because isn't what happens in that scene like these guys try to rape her, and then Spider-Man shows up, saves the day, and then just starts snogging her, and every time I just cringe at it. Is that what happens, Harlan?
Yeah, but like she does go, like she
goes for the kiss. You're right, she does go for the kiss, and I think it's less to do with like the character of MJ in that scene and like what makes me uncomfortable. It's more like that is what's written in the script that makes me feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. But the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams
Sorry, I distracted us again.
is very strong. But it's interesting because while filming, those two actually hated each other.
Did they?
It wasn't until after they finished filming they kind of became friends and ended up dating for a while, actually.
Yeah.
But during filming, supposedly, reports and rumor has it that they couldn't stand each other.
This is Ryan Gosling's second co-star he ended up dating. He does it quite a bit.
Yes, he does.
He dated Sandra Bullock.
It worked out for him, though, eventually.
Yeah, it did. It did. He dated Sandra Bullock after they did that film together with a 16-year age gap, I think it was.
Oof.
Yeah, there's another note for our dating podcast. I'm just looking if anything else that interests me won the best quick kiss. Nothing that interesting.
And I also think the chemistry between the older versions of the characters is also very strong in a very different way.
Yeah.
In a married decades kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because both Ryan Gosling's character and Rachel McAdams' character, both of them are a little bit out there. Neither of which I would say are like your typical, 40s person.
Mm-hmm.
And then they definitely are more subdued when they're older, but it's a different sort of chemistry that those two have, and it works in a different way.
I have a question for you two.
What's your question, Dean?
Which chemistry was better? I don't know if Liz has seen this film. I'm guessing she has. Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams, or Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt.
Are you talking about the Fall Guy? I actually still have not seen it.
Have you not?
It's good. I think it's probably if it's not on streaming yet, it will be shortly.
Nobody will go see it with me, and I guess I could go see it alone, but
I don't know, because it's hard, because I would say Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling's chemistry is some of the best on-screen chemistry I've seen in a movie maybe within the past 5 years. It's
and it is
really
like
strong.
I said at the time, it's just because they don't do this kind of like films focus on this kind of like mainstream films, because you get the outliers like Anyone But You and that sort of thing, but rom-coms are on the decline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Liz, Rachel McAdams or Emma Stone?
For like between chemistry, like with Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough. Because I feel like they're very different. Because like with The Notebook, I really do believe like they are this like 40s couple, and she's fighting him all the time.
Yeah.
I guess I have to say Emma Stone, actually. But
wow.
I think I would agree.
It's tough.
I would say Emma Stone in La La Land, maybe not Crazy Stupid Love.
That's what I meant specifically.
Yeah. But they've got really good chemistry in Crazy Stupid Love.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have to go probably also Emma Stone. Yeah. But also because their relationship, for the most part, is a little bit more what is now accepted as healthy.
But it's interesting because I think both films really fit the place they're in. Like La La Land feels like an incredibly real relationship from like today's standards. And like Liz said, you watch this and you're like, yeah, this is exactly what people were like in the 40s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know, I've been there.
Yeah, you went there? How was it?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah?
Actually, I did it. There was a lot of things wrong. Actually, now that I really see on the internet, it was not great. We've progressed a lot since then.
Who knew?
I like how you had to clarify that as if people are going to try and cancel you for like Newt's Films said that she went to the 40s and everything was fine, actually.
You never know.
Okay. Yeah. I think any final thoughts on The Notebook?
I guess
don't know.
One
I
final
did-
question.
Okay.
Yes.
If your movie doesn't have a kiss in the rain,
Yeah.
does it really have a kiss at all?
Mm-mm.
Was it a big stereotype before this film?
I mean, the only thing of Spider-Man, because that one also was raining.
That's true. That is true. But I guess it was a stereotype. But when I bet if you like did a vox pop, you were out on the streets and you were like name an iconic kiss in the rain, this
Yeah,
would be up
it's
there.
gonna be this movie.
It'd be this movie. I think Spider-Man is a good shout as well, actually. But I think it would be this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
My final thoughts on the Notebook, actually, I keep meaning to say this, but I keep forgetting, is for some reason, okay, I thought this film, before watching it, I thought this film was about like two people that fell in love under Nazi occupation.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that
Where did you
is?
get that idea?
Because I actually am not in my brain, in my mind somewhere, I thought this film had like a book burning, which is what the Nazis did with like all the books they didn't agree with. And I don't know if I got that from, there's no way I extrapolated that from the name of the film being The Notebook. That's not like something I would have made up. I bet there's another film out there and people are gonna be like shouting it at me right now. There'll be another film where there's like it's like a rom-com and there's book burnings involved. And I just got it confused with The Notebook.
I would love to know what that movie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like an
If it
interesting.
doesn't exist, you have to make it
premise.
now.
Yeah, I would do. Yeah, there you go. What we like to do,
Dean,
Liz,
you got to make it now. You have to.
at this point, we give our films a couple ratings, and you're invited to join us. First, we each will give it an individual rating out of 10. Arlen, do you know what you're going to give this film?
I have a pretty confident score.
Okay.
I would give The Notebook a 8 out of 10.
I'm sitting around the same ballpark. I'm gonna go. Oh, I'm just looking at the other ratings I've given it. I'm gonna go 8 as well, actually, I think.
And
Yeah,
Liz?
my last letterbox rating equals out to an 8 out of 10 for this movie.
All right.
And 3 8s. Okay.
Across the board.
Across the board. And the next thing we have to give a rating for, and we have to agree on a rating here, is that we give we give what we have called the Gosling rating, where we rate just Ryan Gosling here. This is I feel like this isn't exact science. This is very much down to vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's to do with how much he's in the film, how well he does in the film, hair, eyes.
Good thing we covered those.
Good. It is on our list of the Harlan's talking points. It did go hair and eyes, and normally every week we just go, "Wow, he's just got such beautiful blue eyes." So I'm glad we had something to talk about this week. Harlan,
0.
I'll let you know what we've given previous the film.
Okay. Thank you.
So the Fall Guy was 8.5. Remember the Titans was a 5 because he's barely in it. The Believer was an 8. The Slaughter Rule was a 6.5. Murder by Numbers was a 7, and the United States of Leland was a 6.5. I think this one's got to be high.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going like maybe
the Fall Guy.
Honestly, I would say like maybe like a 9.
That was my first instinct because of how much of a breakout role, and like
That's
it really
true.
was him being so charming, like we said.
I think this is in his top 3. Like this might be his 3rd most iconic performance, behind Barbie and La La Land. I think he might go The Notebook.
I would agree with that.
Like between an 8.5 and a 9, but only because of peer pressure, I'm willing to go.
Yeah, I mean, it is 2 against 1 here, Harlan.
Yeah.
And Liz has passed the test to become the new co-host of this podcast. So,
gosh darn, I forgot about that. Sorry, Liz, you got to be here every week.
Okay.
And
I'll send you the orange hat.
the final question. We have had 5 no's in a row to this. Is this character literally us?
Literally us?
Is he literally you? Is he literally me?
No.
This is tricky. I want to say yes so bad.
The thing is, I want to say yes because we've had 5 no's in a row, and most of them it's because like he was a murderer.
Yeah, but I have to go no.
Can we just? Okay.
I guess like you
want to
can
say
think
yes
as,
together?
are you a
Dean?
ride or die? Like, are you going to be there?
You know what, Dean? We
We're
have
all
done
the
this
weird red
podcast
flags.
for very long. I think.
I think Harlan and I are ride or dies at this point.
Yeah, are we gonna put down yes?
We fight all the time, but
We
also
fight all
at the
the
end of the day,
time.
we love each other. And
I
also,
keep on building him houses.
I smell a recreation of this
who's
movie.
James Marsden in this situation?
It can be me.
Do you
I'll
want
be
to be
Liz.
James Marsden. I come
You
and
were
I go.
so quick.
As
You were
I
like, I'm James
please.
Marsden. I want to be on the next series of Jury Duty, please.
Yes. Put me in the Sonic movies. Yeah.
I'd love to be in
Top
the
two.
Should we say maybe?
Maybe.
Maybe.
We're inventing an option here. So
I
far,
like maybe.
this has no rules. So far, we've only said yes or no, but I think we can make up an option.
There's no rule saying we can't say maybe. So
Let's say maybe. Because I don't want to like I think I'm a ride or die, but I'm not hanging off Ferris wheels to convince Harlan
That's
to do a
true.
podcast with me.
I wish you would.
It was similar.
waiting.
I've
been riding roller coasters every day, waiting for you to just hang off of one.
Harlan, if you weren't so, if you played a bit harder to get, maybe I would hang off a roller coaster to convince you.
All right, I'll just start ghosting your messages more.
Like, this is why Liz is James Marsden. Okay.
I'll swoop in.
I have been saving this for the end, Liz, because I realized I forgot to ask you up front, like I said, and it is too late to ask you now, but I feel obligated to ask you. What is your favorite Ryan Gosling film?
You know what? I feel like you may want to call it recency bias, and that's fine. But Barbie is so good.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows it's good, and it's still better than everybody thinks it is.
There was
I actually like that as a summary of it. I don't think that's too wrong. I think that's like a good.
Yeah.
Barbie was one of the few movies when I saw it in theaters, I was like, this is a integral part of my life now, is this movie.
Yes.
Like when Ryan when he starts doing the I Am Ken dance.
Mm-hmm.
That did change.
I was
my
like,
life. No, that the amount I would sing, I reckon that song comes up in my brain every single day.
Yes. And it just kept going too. Like you were like, okay, it's gonna end. It just kept going.
I was emotionally preparing for it to end, and it just didn't, and it got better. And
yeah.
I think Barbie is one of the few films I would say the only non-superhero film that I've watched recently where I'm like, oh, this is now just a part of pop culture. Like, because it happens with some films and you can't sense it at the time. But you're like, oh, people are still talking about this. But as soon as Barbie finished, I think even before Barbie came out, you knew. Be like, oh, this is just like an integral part of pop culture now.
Yeah. I mean, my theater was full, which is very rare where I live. People do not go to the movies here, but they did for weeks. I mean, people were in pink. There was kids, there was adults. Like,
that was crazy. Yeah, all the pink. That was so weird.
Like it was, like a decade or two ago, where like.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to
choice.
I'm looking forward to watching that film in 21 weeks.
Because you can't before then.
No, and I won't. I refuse. Thank you for being the very first guest on Literally Me.
Yeah, thank you for putting up with us, Liz.
And don't tell the other guests this. By the end of this podcast, you will still be my favorite.
I'm going to tell them. I'm going to tell all of them.
You can tell them. That's fine. We can fight.
You are James Marsden after all, and who are they?
That means like you're sort of my ride or die in a different way, where you're like, oh, I'm happy to step aside for you to be.
Yeah.
I feel like that is ride or die vibes, just in a very different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. Go check Liz out on TikTok. Anywhere else you want people to check you out?
Yeah, wherever. Instagram, TikTok.
You're doing a lot on Instagram.
That's fair. Instagram likes me better. It's like, on Facebook when your parents' friends comment on pictures of you, like, oh, I love you. That's how I feel on Instagram.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
I like your letterbox as well. So that I'll put your link tree or whatever you have in the
okay.
description.
Sounds good.
So people can check you out. And then go look at my TikTok as well. And if you think about looking at it, and then open Harlan's link tree, goes to his TikTok and press block. Okay. Because that's what I've done.
No, by block he means follow. Dean, you have to figure out those two words.
You guys really are them. I'm thinking yes.
If we were in the same room right now, we would be slapping ourselves and each other like
Yes.
Gosling in this film. Yeah.
I would just be slapping you.
And I'd just
no, I would only be slapping because you're Rachel McAdams. You'd be slapping me, and I'd be slapping me.
Yeah. Okay.
I would never touch
Am
you.
I Rachel McAdams in this scenario? I don't mind.
Yeah, because Liz is James Marsden.
Oh, of course. I was going to say I'm happy either way. I'll take either. But
wait. Do you have blue eyes, Dean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because Ryan Gosling has brown eyes, so neither of us could be Ryan. We're both Rachel McAdams.
Okay. Do you want to be Rachel McAdams as well, Liz? You can upgrade from James Marsden if you like.
I mean, I do have brown eyes, so I could be Ryan Gosling.
You could be Ryan.
It all makes sense.
Ride or die.
Illuminati. It's happening.
Okay. This has gone on for too long, one might say. Thank you for listening.
Adios.
Goodbye. Next week we're talking about a film called The Stay. I know nothing about it. Bye.